bonsoir à tous et à toutes. Welcome to a special webinar, a special live broadcast in which we are going to be focusing on a particular aspect of French grammar. Déjà, je me présente. Je m'appelle Marc. Je suis votre professeur pour ce soir. Et enfin, je dis ce soir, peut-être cet après-midi, peut-être ce matin, ça dépend. It depends on where you are watching this video. And I'd love to know where you're watching this video from. Let me know in the comments if you are watching on YouTube or on Facebook. Hopefully we've got viewers both on Facebook and on YouTube this evening. But it may be this afternoon, it may be this morning for wherever you are. But we're going to be focusing particularly on an aspect of French grammar today. And that is pronouns, particularly indirect object pronouns. Let me check that everything is working. Hopefully, yeah, we can see the slides here and you should be able to hear me okay. It all seems to be working as planned. So we're going to spend the next half hour or so looking at pronouns and specifically at a particular group of pronouns, and these are indirect object pronouns. And this content is taken from our Coffee Break French Masterclass. It's a special course that runs for 6 months, and it's actually starting this Friday on the 1st of July. So what we thought we'd do was put together some sample content to help you make a decision as to whether the masterclass is right for you. Please do let me know if you have any questions, either about indirect object pronouns or indeed about the masterclass, and I'll be very happy to answer them. I probably won't answer the questions while we're focusing on, or I won't answer questions about the masterclass while we're focusing on the indirect object pronouns, but if you've got questions about indirect object pronouns, then of course you can post them. I can see that Jacqueline is joining us in California. Fantastic. Bonjour. Oui, en fait, it's just after lunchtime for you. Well, around about noon in California for you, Jacqueline. You are very welcome. Do let us know wherever you are watching and perhaps also how long you have been learning French for. I just need to double check that this is working as expected on Facebook. So just give me 1 second. And then we can make sure that everything is going ahead as planned. Let me see. Hopefully it's all working. I think we're good. Okay, so, yeah, all good. Alors, nous allons commencer. We are going to get started and we're going to focus, as I said, on pronouns. Now, pronouns is a word that we've come across many times, both in terms of grammar and in terms of the word that's used to describe particular things, people, objects, and different elements in language. But if we think about exactly what pronouns are, well, the pro in pronoun means it's a word that stands for the noun. So if we think about the pronoun I, if I use the pronoun I, the subject pronoun I am sitting at my computer talking to you, then I is replacing me. If I am talking about, let's say we're talking about Pierre Benoit from Coffee Break French, I can say he, and that pronoun stands for Pierre Benoit. So the he is referring to Pierre Benoit. So pronoun is simply a word that stands for a noun, and a noun can take many forms. So let's think about the different types of pronouns. There are many, many different types of pronouns. In fact, we've got subject pronouns, direct object pronouns, indirect object pronouns, reflexive pronouns, possessive pronouns, disjunctive pronouns, all sorts of different types of pronouns. And all of these are actually covered in one of our masterclass modules. But today, this evening, we're focusing specifically on indirect object pronouns. And I'm going to tell you a little more about these indirect object pronouns to help you understand exactly what they are. As we go through this, I'm going to be asking you how it's going, if you're understanding everything, and hopefully you will understand everything and we will be able to follow this all together. But let's move on and think a little about indirect object pronouns. Do, as I say, let me know if you've got any questions. Very happy to answer any questions as we go along. And if you've got questions about the masterclass, then I'll be happy to answer them too. But let's focus for now on indirect object pronouns and what that means. I'm going to show you a sentence here. Laura reads the letter to David. So we've got 3 different elements in this sentence. We've got Laura, we've got the letter, and we've got David. So Laura reads the letter to David. What I would like to do is start to think about the pronouns that we're going to use to replace the different elements of this sentence. So first of all, Laura. We can replace Laura with she. She is the subject pronoun that stands for Laura. So we could change the sentence and say, she reads the letter to David. However, this means that we need to have mentioned Laura previously. We need to know that it's Laura that we're talking about. So if we have said, for example, oh, I know Laura well, she reads the letter to David, or she's reading the letter to David. We've mentioned Laura already, so we can use the pronoun she to refer back to Laura. Now, obviously, we're focusing on English here, and we'll translate all of this. We'll refocus all of this into French in just a moment. But let's think about, we'll come back to our sentence here. Laura reads the letter to David. Let's think about what we would change here if we wanted to change the letter, if we wanted to focus on the letter. Now, we can refer to the letter as it. So we could then say, Laura reads it to David. But again, only if we've previously mentioned the letter, because otherwise we don't know what it is. So I found the letter this morning. Laura reads it to David, or Laura is reading it to David, depending on your context. So we can replace the letter with it, and using the object pronoun it. Now, we can also replace to David. And to David, we would replace with to him. Him, in this case, being an object pronoun in English. So Laura reads the letter to David would become Laura reads the letter to him. Straightforward enough. We're replacing to David with to him. So we've got three different things happening here. We've got our subject pronoun, she, then the direct object pronoun, it, so she reads it to him, with our indirect object pronoun. And you can see they're colour-coded. We've got red for subject pronoun, dark blue for it, for the direct object pronoun, and light blue for to him, our indirect object pronoun. Okay, so far so good. Does this all make sense so far? We've looked at three different types of pronouns in English: our subject pronoun, our direct object pronoun, and our indirect object pronoun. And what I'd like you to do is post in the comments to let me know if you're following this. Have you followed this so far? I have just realised something. No, it should be okay. All good. So if you're a little bit confused, then post a 1 in the comments. If you are okay, things are making a little bit of sense, then post a 2 in the comments. But if you're totally on board with this and you're following everything, then post a 3 in the comments. I'm loving Mary's comment here. She's saying, I feel as if a fog has been lifted. Well, it's only going to get better from here, Mary. I can guarantee that. Great to see lots of you posting tonight. Thank you for joining me with this, and thank you for all the 3s that are coming in. That's great to know. 1s and 2s are fine too. Don't worry. If you're not quite following all this, that's okay. I'll explain everything as we go along. Okay, let's move on then, because it's time now to think about how all of this works en français. So, Laura lit la lettre à David. So we've got Laura, and then our verb, lit, from lire, she reads, la lettre, the letter, à David, to David. Let's now think about this and see what we can work out about this particular sentence, because what we want to do is take out à David, because that's our indirect object pronoun, and that's the focus of this lesson, as you know. So we're going to take out à David, we're going to replace it with the equivalent word in French, and notice that it's à David, to David, and we're going to replace it with to him, which in French is lui. So one word in French, 2 words in English, to him, but 1 word in French, lui. So Laura lit la lettre à David, and we're going to replace that lui, but we can't, or we're going to replace à David with lui, but we can't put it at the end of the sentence, because in French we need to move that forward in the sentence. So this then becomes Laura lui lit la lettre. Quite tricky to say. say it with me. Okay, if you're out and about, if you're walking the dog and listening to this, then no one will hear you. Just say it out loud. So Laura lui lit la lettre. Laura lui lit la lettre. Okay. So there's the full sentence. Laura lui lit la lettre. Literally, Laura, to him, reads the letter. And that lui has to come in there in French. Let's look at another example. J'ai raconté une histoire à Louise. J'ai raconté une histoire à Louise. So I told a story to Louise. Or in English, we could also say, I told Louise a story. Now, this is tricky because if we change that word order in English and say it in that form, I told Louise a story, then we can't really hear that to. We don't really hear the idea of to Louise. You're still reading the story to Louise, but in the words you use in English, I read Louise a story, that's where it slightly changes because we don't have a to translate. But we'd still do exactly the same in French. If we go back to Laura lui lit la lettre, we could also say Laura reads him the letter. And again, there's no to in there, but the to really is in there. We need to kind of replace the to with the lui in French. So coming back here, j'ai raconté une histoire à Louise. I told Louise a story. What are we going to do with this? We're going to replace à Louise with the word for to her. Great news. The word for to her in French is lui. And the lui comes before the conjugated verb. Now, when we thought about Laura lui lit la lettre, lit is a conjugated verb there. And here with j'ai raconté, the a part from avoir, our auxiliary verb, that is our conjugated verb, and that's where we're going to put the lui in front of. So that becomes je lui ai raconté une histoire. I, to her, in this case, because we're talking about Louise, ai raconté une histoire. Literally, I, to her, have told a story. Now, once again, we need to have mentioned Louise before we say this sentence. We could say, j'ai vu Louise aujourd'hui. I saw Louise today. Je lui ai raconté une histoire. I told her a story. So let's say this all together. Je lui ai raconté une histoire. We'll run it together a little more quickly. Je lui ai raconté une histoire. In French, all the words join together beautifully. So hopefully that makes sense. It's your turn now. We've got a new sentence here. Je donne le livre à Jean-Luc. I want you to replace à Jean-Luc, and I want you to type in the comments what you would say for this sentence. So I want you to say, I give the book to him. Think about your word order. Think about how you're going to say to him. Think about what you're going to lose from this sentence. And take 10 seconds to work this out and then post your answer in the comments. And I'm going to be looking to see who's getting it right. And if you get it wrong, don't worry. We'll help you sort this out in the course of this lesson. So don't worry if you don't quite make this correct. So, je donne le livre à Jean-Luc. I want you to say, I give him the book, or I give to him the book. Remember, in French, we need to add the lui, the to him in here. So let's have a look. Yeah, we've got some correct answers here. We've got Ian saying, je lui donne le livre. Je lui donne le livre. Same answer from Jacqueline. Très, très bien, je lui donne le livre. Excellent. Okay, so there is indeed our answer. Je lui donne le livre. Mary getting the correct answer. Well done. Très, très bien. Ray also, je lui donne le livre. Jeanette, je lui donne le livre. Fantastique. Excellent. Okay, so far so good. That all makes sense. We've got lui replacing to him or to her. Now, we also have another word in French, and that is the word that we use for a plural situation. So let's look at this sentence. J'ai dit la vérité à mes parents. J'ai dit la vérité à mes parents. So, I told the truth to my parents. Okay, j'ai dit la vérité à mes parents. In this case, I want you to replace à mes parents with another word. And this other word is our other indirect object pronoun for the third person, in this case, the third person plural. And this time, we need to replace it with leur, L-E-U-R. Very careful here, it's L-E-U-R. There's no S on this. So, j'ai dit la vérité à mes parents would become je leur ai dit la vérité. I, to them, have said the truth. I, to them, have told the truth. So we've got a leur in here that's replacing à mes parents. So two words, lui, for to him or to her, or to it, or to, we'll go through this in detail later, and leur for to them. For to them, okay? Je leur ai dit la vérité. Okay, once again, so far so good. How's it going now? We talked through this in English first, and then now we've applied this to French, where we're talking about to him, to her, to it, to them, and so on. Let me know from your from the comments. Let me know what your how you're doing. Is it a 1? Is it a 2? Is it a 3 so far? And that will be great for me to know how things are going. Some 3s coming through. Excellent. That's what I like to see. Hopefully everyone's following this as expected. Okay, so what we're going to do now is have a little look at basically we're going to put this into practice because I'd like to do a listening activity with you. And this is a listening activity in which you're going to look at this in practice. So we're going to be listening to a conversation where you're going to see, or hear rather, some indirect object pronouns, particularly examples of lui and leur. And this is taken from our masterclass, so it's an audio activity, and I'm going to ask you to listen without seeing anything first. So I'm going to put, I think I can come full screen here, and I'm just going to put this on the screen. There we go. So that's going to come up on the screen, and you're going to listen to this section of one of our audio lessons from the masterclass. And it will give you an idea of what the masterclass is like, of course, but it's taken from a section of the masterclass where Geraldine and I are introducing this conversation. So you're going to listen to the conversation with no transcript. Then we're going to put the transcript on the screen and you'll listen at a slower pace. So see how you get on first, and I'm going to start playing the conversation now. So bon courage. Alors, Géraldine, tu peux nous expliquer notre premier dialogue?
Oui, alors, dans ce premier dialogue, nous avons Norbert et Swazig.
Norbert et Swazig?
Swazig,
Swazig?
qui est un prénom breton.
Ah, un très joli prénom. Swazig, ok.
Et Swazig a envie de voyager autour du monde et elle en parle avec Norbert.
Très bien. Alors, nous allons commencer notre première lecture maintenant. Alors, tu as parlé à tes parents de ton projet de voyage autour du monde l'année prochaine?
Oui, je leur ai parlé de mon projet, mais mon père pense que ce n'est pas une bonne idée.
Attends, tu lui as dit que c'était une opportunité unique, une chance extraordinaire.
Oui, je lui ai dit tout ça, mais ils trouvent tous les deux que c'est trop dangereux. De plus, je leur avais promis de finir mes études avant de partir voyager.
Mais ce n'est pas dangereux du tout. Puis tu vas leur écrire souvent. Tu leur enverras des cartes postales de tous les pays du monde. Ce sera génial.
Tu ne veux pas venir à la maison leur dire tout ça?
Okay, that was quite quick. I'm sure you agree that the reading speed there was quite quick. So in the masterclass, we provide all of the dialogues at a normal speed. So you're listening to normal speed French, but we also provide them at a slower speed. So what I'm going to do now is play the slower speed dialogue, but also put the transcript on the screen so you'll be able to follow this as you go along. And hopefully this time it will be that bit more understandable and you'll be able to follow it in greater detail. So let's bring the transcript on the screen and we'll bring in the dialogue once more. Alors, tu as parlé à tes parents de ton projet de voyage autour du monde l'année prochaine?
Oui, je leur ai parlé de mon projet, mais mon père pense que ce n'est pas une bonne idée.
Attends, tu lui as dit que c'était une opportunité unique et une chance extraordinaire?
Oui, je lui ai dit tout ça. Mais ils trouvent tous les deux que c'est trop dangereux. De plus, je leur avais promis de finir mes études avant de partir voyager.
Mais ce n'est pas dangereux du tout. Puis tu vas leur écrire souvent. Tu leur enverras des cartes postales de tous les pays du monde. Ce sera génial.
Tu ne veux pas venir à la maison leur dire tout ça?
Okay, how was that time? Hopefully, it was a little better that time, and you were able to follow it, obviously, with the help of the transcript. So, we're going to go through this now. Let's go through it together. And Norbert begins by saying, alors, tu as parlé à tes parents de ton projet de voyage autour du monde l'année prochaine. Have you spoken to your parents about your project, your plan of travel, your travel plans autour du monde l'année prochaine, around the world next year? So, tu as parlé à tes parents de ton projet de voyage autour du monde l'année prochaine. And Swazig says, oui, je leur ai parlé de mon projet. Yes, I to them, that's the leur, je leur ai parlé de mon projet. I to them have spoken about my project, or I've spoken to them about my plans. Mais mon père pense que ce n'est pas une bonne idée. But my father thinks that it's not a good idea. And then Norbert is quite surprised at this. He says, attends, tu lui as dit que c'était une opportunité unique et une chance extraordinaire. So did you tell him, have you said to him, the lui, and there's the to him again, que c'était une opportunité unique, that it was a unique opportunity et une chance extraordinaire, and an extraordinary chance, basically, an extraordinary opportunity. And Swazig says, oui, oui, je lui ai dit tout ça. Yeah, I told him all of that. Mais ils trouvent tous les deux, but they both find, literally, they find, all the two, they both find que c'est trop dangereux, that it's too dangerous. De plus, je leur avais promis de finir mes études avant de partir voyager. What's more, I to them had promised de finir mes études, to finish my studies, avant de partir voyager, before leaving to travel. And then Norbert disagrees. He says, mais ce n'est pas dangereux du tout. It's not dangerous at all. Puis tu vas leur écrire souvent. And anyway, you're going to write to them often. So the leur, again, to them. Tu leur enverras des cartes postales de tous les pays du monde. You will send to them postcards from all the countries in the world. Ce sera génial. It will be fantastic. And then Swazig says she seems to think that Norbert very much believes in what she's aiming to do, but perhaps he could come to the house to tell her parents all of this. Tu ne veux pas venir à la maison leur dire tout ça? Do you want to come? You don't want to come to the house and tell them all of this? So there we have the full conversation. Hopefully that all makes sense now. And that you've noticed all of these indirect object pronouns. We've got the lui, to him, particularly referring to Swazig's father, and leur, referring to both the parents, so to them. One more time, let's have a look through. We've got leur, lui, and leur and lui, lots of examples of that. So, I hope that made sense. I hope that you were able to follow that, and that now that we've gone through these indirect object pronouns, things all make a little more sense. And what we'll do is just to review what we've learned here. The purpose of these indirect object pronouns is to replace nouns in order to avoid repetition. So the crucial thing is that we've mentioned these things before. So we knew that Swazig was talking about her parents, and when she said to them, we know that who we're talking about. Likewise, when she talked about her father, we used lui after she had mentioned her father, because we know already who she's referring to. So, j'explique la situation à Clara. I explain the situation to Clara. Je lui explique la situation. We're replacing à Clara with lui, because we've already mentioned Clara, presumably in a previous sentence. So, lui is used for to him, to her, to it, basically any singular third person, and we would use lui there. And leur is used for to them, regardless of the gender. So lui and leur are two indirect third-person pronouns. There are first person, second person, and so on. But for now, we are sticking to this. Okay, so leur never changes when it's used as an indirect object pronoun. So that's the crucial thing. We never add an S to that when we're using leur. There is another word, L-E-U-R-S, but it means something different. So leur never changes when it's used as an indirect object pronoun. And just note that in French, you often need to add that idea of to. So in English, we can say, I sent him a letter. In French, we would say, I to him send a letter. We need to bring in that to there as well. Now, some verbs require that indirect object. Some verbs, basically, these verbs are examples of them. So, envoyer, to send, dire, to say, expliquer, to explain, donner, to give, offrir, to offer or to give as a gift, and so on. And in all of these verbs, you can see that there's an element of giving something, whether it's advice or whether it's saying something, so giving speech to someone else or sending something to someone. There's always this transmission of something from one person to another, and that's why these need an indirect object. Okay, one more question, one more time. Let me know if you're completely confused about this, if you feel that some bits of this make sense, or if you think that everything is great so far, and you will. That will be helpful to me if you can post that in the comments. Sorry, I'm just removing these spam comments from the. That should be them. Okay, hopefully that's the spam comments gone. Apologies for that. Looks like everyone is understanding things. We've got lots of threes coming through. That's perfect. Exactly what I like to see. Okay, what I'm going to do is continue telling a little bit about how you can take this kind of learning further with the Coffee Break French Masterclass. I'm just going to run through some elements of the masterclass, explaining what the masterclass involves and how you can continue to learn about pronouns and about a whole load of other things in our Coffee Break French Masterclass. We're talking about monthly modules. So each month there's a different module. I'll explain what all the modules are in just a moment. We're talking about short, regular sessions. So basically, if you've got the time to spend maybe 15 minutes every day or every couple of days on your French, then you can really see a huge difference. It's structured learning. What you learn in one lesson will be picked up on in the next lesson and the next lesson, and you'll be building on what you've learned. And there's audio content like what you heard tonight, with text material and video review. So with the text materials, they supplement what you see and what you hear in the audio, and the video review helps you review the materials at the end of each module. It's very much coffee break learning, and what I mean by that, well, it's coffee break length. So if you like to sit down for a 10 or 15 minute coffee break, then that's what you can do in your coffee break by learning with us through the masterclass. It's coffee break style. We very much like the idea of just sitting down with a friend who happens to be able to speak French and tell you how to speak French and teach you and help you improve your French. And very informal, and also coffee break quality, everything that you're used to hearing in our main content, our lessons, our seasons of podcasts and our video content. All of that is a very high quality, and we maintain this level of quality within the masterclass. Now, the curriculum for the masterclass focuses on a different module each month. So in July, we'll be focusing on tricky verbs. We'll be looking at some common verbs which have tricky uses. So things like emmener and amener, the difference between connaître and savoir, and things like that. In August, we'll be looking at pronouns. We've looked at our indirect object pronouns today, but we've also got lessons on on direct object pronouns, disjunctive pronouns, possessive pronouns, reflexive pronouns, and various other types of pronouns within that module. We also have a module on false friends. So these are these words which you think you know what they mean, but in fact you don't know what they mean because they mean something totally different, but they look like a word in English. So that's our September module, and it's a step away a little bit from the grammar of the first two modules, but what you will see in that module is that the grammar that we've covered in modules 1 and 2 will come back naturally within all these conversations, these dialogues that you're listening to. In Module 4 in October, we're going to be focusing on tense mastery. So we'll look at all the key tenses that you need to master, and in particular look at the difference between different past tenses. So that gives you an opportunity to really sort out which tense to use when in October. In November, we'll be tackling the tricky, well, what people think as tricky topic of the subjunctive. The subjunctive is just a special type of verb that you can use for particular purposes, and we'll be learning all about that in Module 5 in November. And then we'll finish the masterclass in Module 6 in December with how to sound more French. This is one of the favourite modules of so many learners who have already completed the masterclass, and sounding more French can be done in a variety of ways, and we'll be guiding you through exactly how to do that in Module 6. Okay. The schedule for the masterclass, let me come out of here and I will just bring the schedule up. So the schedule begins on the 1st of the month. So in July, that will be Friday coming. And you'll have lesson 1 on Friday the 1st, lesson 2 on Tuesday the 5th, and lesson 3 on Friday the 8th. And then we take a break from these lessons and do a little exercise on Tuesday the 12th before returning for the remaining 2 lessons on the 15th and the 19th. But then you'll see that as of the 19th, there's no new content, it's about consolidation. So at this point, you'll be working through some activities that we provide. There's a checklist, there's a video review, and then you'll be taking your test to see how much you've learned in the module on the 26th. Now, these are the dates on which these elements become available. You don't have to do them on those days. These are just the dates when they become available so that you can catch up with them. You can do them later if you haven't got time to do them on those particular days. But that's when they become available to you within the masterclass on the Coffee Break Academy. Okay, let me come back to my slides. Let's talk about the target audience. Now, we very often get questions about who is the masterclass for. Well, our main courses follow this route like many other courses. So we have courses for beginners and upper beginners in Season 1, Season 2. Season 2 then would move into B1, which is regarded as lower intermediate. And then as we move on from Season 2 into Season 3, we're going from B1 into B2, and then Season 4, B2 into C1, and then La Vérité éclate toujours, if you're familiar with that. That comes on after C1 into C2. However, the masterclass is around about here, in between B1 and B2. Some of the content will be B1 style content, some of the content will be B2 content, but the idea is that it's helping you build a very strong foundation on which to build and move on from there. So, for example, if you've done Season 2 already but haven't started Season 3, the masterclass is perfect for you. It means that you will be able to build this really strong foundation on which you can develop with Season 3. If you've already done Season 3 and you're thinking, there are some aspects of the grammar that I'm not quite sure about, then the masterclass again is great for you. If you're on Season 1, then it's probably not the right time to do the masterclass. It will be available in the future. If you're already on Season 4 or La Vérité éclate toujours, then the masterclass is not right for you either. It's probably at a slightly lower level than Season 4 or the masterclass. So hopefully that explains a little about the target audience, who the masterclass is aimed at. Okay. Coming back to the slides, the pricing of the masterclass. I'm just galloping through all this information because the purpose of tonight's session was really to help you master those indirect object pronouns, but I want to share some of this information about the masterclass because it is filling up as we speak. In fact, I can just welcome Alex, who has just purchased the masterclass. Merci beaucoup, Alex. Thank you very much. So this is the pricing for the masterclass. The course involves 5 lessons per month, so the bonus activities that come out at the end of the month, a module test, email check-ins. We send you an email every time there's a new lesson to remind you about it and send you the link straight into that lesson. Guaranteed feedback. I've not actually mentioned that. There are homework activities for every single lesson, and we provide guaranteed feedback on those homework activities. So perhaps if we're talking about indirect object pronouns, for example, you could then be asked to post a couple of sentences using some indirect object pronouns, and we would give you feedback on that. And most importantly, you can also see the feedback that all of the other learners are getting too. So that means that you're learning not only from your own work, but the work of the other learners on the course. And of course, there's a course certificate at the end of the course. So the price for this is £57.60 in the UK. That includes VAT, and that's a monthly cost for the 6 months of the course. It's just 6 instalments. At the end of that, you stop paying, obviously. And that price includes VAT in the UK. If you are elsewhere in Europe, you would use the local VAT rate, depending on what that is in your country. The base US price is $59. And that, again, may have some, depending on where you are, some states have sales tax to add to that, or a digital tax to add to that. But when you go on our website, the price that is shown on our website is exactly the price that you will pay. So that hopefully explains everything you need to know there. You can, alternatively, pay upfront and pay for the whole course. And if you decided to do that, then you get 1 month free. So that would be £288 total, or and that includes VAT, or $295 excluding VAT. And it says monthly there. It shouldn't say monthly. That's the one-off cost. I apologise. Just to be absolutely clear, I will just add a little. No, I can't do that actually at this stage. It says monthly. It's not monthly. That's £288 for one-off payment, and $295 for a one-off payment. Sorry about that. That should not say monthly. Okay. So that is the pricing. Registration is open for the Coffee Break French Masterclass right now. And I have to say it's going quite quickly. So we've got a limited number of places on the course, because obviously if we're providing personalised feedback to every learner, we can't make this an unlimited course. So there are a limited number of places, and the places are going quite quickly at the moment. Registration is open until the 30th of June. That's this Thursday. This Thursday night, late on in the evening, because the course, of course, starts on Friday. And if at that point the course is full, then we'll be stopping registration. Indeed, if the course fills up before the end of Thursday, then we may also have to close registration. We did that. We had to do that last time because we had reached the capacity for the class before the registration official registration time ended. But it's available until the 30th of June, unless the capacity is reached before then. So, do you have any questions? As you're thinking up these questions and giving me a chance to answer the questions, what I'd like to do is share with you some comments from some of our previous masterclass learners. We have had thousands of learners go through the masterclass over the years. This is the same course, obviously updated each time, but this is the same course that learners have previously done. So if you have already done the masterclass, then this is the same content. We don't expect you obviously to buy it again. This is the same content, and we would suggest that you move on to season 3 or season 4 or something like that instead of doing the masterclass again. So let me know if you have any questions about the masterclass in the comments. In the meantime, let's have a look at some comments from previous masterclass participants.
I enjoyed having a time frame in which I was responsible to myself to work through each lesson. Before, unless I was taking the class in person, I would seem to always find an excuse on why I didn't finish the chapter or didn't finish reading the book that I was reading. So by being part of this class, it kept me on task. I love being part of this group. It gave me a reason to log in and to see what the next assignment was, to listen to the next conversation. It helped me stay continuing on and not giving up. It was perfect for me, and I think it's going to be perfect for so many others. Thank you.
I particularly love getting live feedback for the homework assignments, but I also love the specific subjects that you chose to focus on each month. They were perfect.
For me, what I have enjoyed learning most of all is that I have a good ear for listening, and the engaging audio segments for each lesson have really, I've really enjoyed them, and they've really made me feel confident that I can understand what's said. And the way it's broken down, I've learned more from them, but it's really developed my confidence on that comprehension, which I appreciate.
I appreciated that the dialogue was spoken twice. So first at a regular speed, and then again at a slower speed. As a beginner, that really helped me to understand.
The course helped me to sort of pull it all together. It was also a great refresher as I relearned, so to speak, things that I once learned but had forgotten. Perhaps best of all, I think I finally have a handle on the subjunctive.
Mostly, I think there's been a lot of effort put into creating content that's challenging at this level, and I find there isn't much else available that I found that is working for me. So thank you for putting that together.
And I have filled my notebook with all sorts of tips and tricks and explanations that I picked up throughout the course that help me to remember. And I will always be able to go back and review this material if needed. Getting feedback from the tutors on homework and answering the questions was great, because sometimes I tried to make challenging sentences that I wasn't too sure about. And the tutors helped give me really helpful feedback and help me to understand.
It's perfect for intermediate or advanced students. It's really great that students can do the class at their own pace, but also get live feedback on homework assignments. That's just an amazingly good feature, I think, and I found it very helpful.
I'd recommend the masterclass to people who are interested at the advanced level, because there is not much engaging content, I find, for that level of learner. And because you've really spent the time to think about how to advance and how to make the content meet the needs of the advanced level learner.
I love that, especially with the masterclass, I have a dedicated schedule to follow. So it kind of forces me to sit down and do my homework. But at the same time, I can do it at my own pace. So I don't have to be there at a certain time and be in class and be seated. So this has helped me tremendously, because I'm more at my age of working at my own pace. I also like that the tests are self-graded, so I can go back over them and retake them and look at what I did wrong and go over it again and again. For now, and also in the future, I can redo it again. So I am, it's an enormous help for me, since I have test anxiety. So it's nice to know that I can look at this many times over. So thank you. Yeah, this is perfect for me. And I think it's perfect for so many others as well.
I really appreciated the structure of a regular monthly study plan that really helped me stay accountable to the course. I probably would not have made this much progress on my own.
So thank you to our former masterclass students who shared some of their thoughts about their experience with the masterclass. Please let me know if you have got any questions. I'll be here for another 5 minutes or so, and I'm very happy to answer some questions. We got some questions in by email earlier, which I'll be answering too. But we do have a couple of questions here. So let me see. Cece is saying the homework is given back after each lesson or just once per month. So each lesson, there are 5 lessons in total. In fact, I think I can bring that one up again. Let me just see. Yeah, so these 5 blue lessons on this sheet, on this screen, you can see that those are the lesson dates. So the 1st, the 5th, the 8th, the 15th and the 19th. So you can submit your homework after each one of those lessons. Now, the homework is not a complex task. It's just something simple to make sure that you are doing a little bit of work based on what you've learned. And it's most often we ask you to post an example of something that you've learned, and that way you're showing what you've learned and we can provide the feedback on that. And again, you're seeing your feedback, but you're also seeing the feedback for all of the other learners who are joined in the masterclass. So Cece, I hope that helps you I hope that explains what the situation is with the homework. Mary is asking a question. Am I eligible to start the masterclass as I won the prize in November? Mary, can I suggest that you get in touch with us, get in touch with the team over on our help desk? So if you just go to coffeebreaklanguages.com or coffeebreakacademy.com and click in the little button on the bottom right, that's the chat button, you can get in touch with the team and someone will get back to you about that tomorrow. Hopefully that makes sense. A question that we had earlier today involved the actual materials themselves, the audio and the video content, whether that can be downloaded. And absolutely, you can download that to your own device. You are able to use a variety of apps to do that. In some cases, whether that's if you're working on a computer, obviously you can download the audio video content, store that on your own computer. If you're using a tablet, then there are ways to download that same content and store it within your Files app, or use an app like Documents, or within your file browser on an Android device. So yes, it is absolutely possible to download the content and store it on your own computer for offline access if you're going on a flight or something like that. So that's absolutely possible. Another question we had earlier was exactly that. I am going on a flight. I am going to be away from my computer for a fortnight because I'm going on holiday. So of course, if you've got your vacation planned, that's absolutely fine. You'll be able to catch up. As you saw from the schedule, again, after the 19th, there's almost 2 full weeks when there's nothing happening. So it's perfectly possible to, well, I say there's nothing happening, there's no new content, it's a consolidation period. So if you were away at the beginning of the week, or at the beginning of the month, then you can catch up towards the end of the month. And if you're away for a longer time, many people have done the masterclass when they've been away for a month or something like that. It's perfectly possible to catch up. Again, we're talking about 15, maybe 20 minutes every couple of days, or maybe a couple of times a week. So it's definitely possible to do that. Okay, by the looks of things, there are no more questions at this stage. I would just like to say thank you to Orit and to Lisa, who have just joined. We're delighted to welcome you to this year's masterclass. As I said, registration is ending on the 30th of June, so there is still time to join, and we would be very much delighted to welcome you to the masterclass. If you're, I've just realised the key thing that I've not done is tell you where to go. So in order to sign up for the masterclass and find out more about it, obviously, go to coffeebreakfrenchmasterclass.com, and there you'll find all the information you need. More testimonials, you'll see our frequently asked questions section, you'll see detailed content about the curriculum itself. And lots more information about the masterclass at coffeebreakfrenchmasterclass.com. You'll see everything you need to know there. Je voudrais vous remercier. I would like to thank you. I very much hope that you've learned something tonight, whether it is just reviewing some aspects of these indirect object pronouns which you weren't familiar with. I'd love to know if you feel you have learned something. Post that in the comments, just a Y for yes or an N for no. I don't mind which, obviously it's useful to me either way, but hopefully it's a Y. And I hope that you've enjoyed this. Of course, we have lots more content like this to work through, be that in our normal seasons of Coffee Break French, in our Coffee Break French Club, which is another way to practice your French skills on a regular basis. And of course, within our reading club, within all of the other materials that we offer, and our regular podcasts and social content. You can find all of that at coffeebreakfrench.com. If you're particularly interested in the masterclass and making your French skyrocket between now and the end of the year, then do make sure you check out the Coffee Break French Masterclass.com. Right, that's interesting. Ian is saying that URL only shows the 2021 Masterclass course. Thank you for letting me know that. In that case, Ian, I'm just going to switch this over. Let me see if I can just get this. No, I'm not going to be able to get this because it's in another monitor. But if you go to coffeebreakmasterclass.com, you'll see two options, one for French, one for Spanish. Those are the new Masterclass 2022. I thought I'd changed that earlier. It's maybe not propagated all the way around the world yet for the updated links. But if you go to coffeebreakmasterclass.com, you will definitely see the button for the French and the button for the Spanish, so that should get you to that. Ian, thanks for letting us know about that. Okay, that's it for today. Merci beaucoup et à la prochaine. Au revoir.